Hey y'all, my name is Matty Bentley, born and raised in Queens, New York, and I'm the music director for Street Dreams Radio. Our platform was born to serve as the soundscape arms and legs of our magazine, where we broadcast weekly music mixes, film vignettes, and a wide range of creative podcasts. This collaboration of monthly interviews takes us behind the scenes and behind the psyche of our hosts, into the depths of their creative processes, their creative direction, their creative inspirations, and their creative insights. This month, we dive into the mind of Steve Sweatpants Irby, the co-founder of Street Dreams magazine and the creator of Lab, Live at the Bodega. Welcome to Creative Insights.
All right, what's going on, Mr. Sweatpants?
What's goody? What's goody? What's goody?
How you doing?
Oh man, just another day trying to get that money.
Well, it's a good year for that. Things are changing quite a bit. But I want to welcome you to the ribbon cutting episode of Creative Insights with Street Dreams Radio and Creative Live.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you can clap. Our goal here is to get a bit granular with your process, your choices of sound bites, your choices in collaborators, and how a photography major of the streets puts together a radio show, and how your show started to build its own identity, and some of the things we can hope to see in the future of Live at the Bodega. So before we jump in, just for those who don't know you in the Creative Live community, or perhaps from the photography community, just kind of give us a brief overview of where you are now, from where you came from, and a little Easter egg of our friendship.
This is honestly really just dope, and I'm honored to be on the ribbon cutting episode for Creative Insights. I know I used to tease you about this all the time, but every time, when we used to go to parties and stuff. But I've known you since high school, bro. Since we've been like little crumb snatchers, pretty much, and maybe like 15, 16 years old. So we go back a long time. Pretty much close to 2 decades. And so everything that even evolved into my photography career, you see me, you see me in high school just playing basketball and going buying beef patties. That everything that we do is very grounded in our roots and stuff like that. So photography for me was it was a new foray. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have any references. I didn't know who to look to at a certain point. I stumbled upon it because of Instagram and the fact that my parents are really down to put me on the family plan, so I can get an iPhone. That access was a really big point for me, because then I had a chance to show a perspective of my community that I never really, I took for granted for a long time. And then now that I feel like I'm trying to make up for all that lost time, for all those years I wasn't taking photos. So, I've been documenting now for just about 8 years. I've been blessed to work with people as like the Knicks, the New Yorker, New York Mag, the Tribeca Film Festival, and all the different projects that we're working on currently with myself and New York Nico, with the MTA, and a couple of other projects that we're announcing. It's pretty much a microcosm of my life, of really just being as New York as I can and documenting New York as much as I can and showing it love, but at the same time making sure that I try to give back to it in my own ways that feels natural and authentic to me. So, just happy to be here, dog.
Awesome. Well, we're honored to have you here too, and we're really happy that all these different facets of your life are coming together, just to and expressing itself in different aspects. Photography is one thing. Here we are talking about music and how you build out a radio show or incorporate music into some of the moods you have, from dance, from like Live at the Bodega to Live at the Barbecue.
I had to show the true perspective of what the bodega is, from when you're walking in in the morning, and when you're hearing the drunk dude on the corner that is probably sauced up, but at the same time has a lot of love, the same kind of the different kind of meals that you can order. Like that is the real experience. And at the same time, I wanted to feel like as soon as you put your headphones on, that's just what it feels like if you was in New York one day vibing out to uh, one of my favorite sets from the homie Jacob Rochester or Amp Blue, the homie. So it's kind of really endless when it comes to uh, keeping that microcosm of culture in the bodega still, because it's still musically and spiritually it feels the same vibe and energy with it. So hopefully we can keep this going as long as possible. This is heavily inspired by brothers like Ricky Powell, like rest in power to him. He was always with his invisible jazz cigarette with the little radio, and then those are the ones that always always put a smile on my face, because that kind of energy is immortal. So I wanted to really establish the same thing with Live at the Bodega.
Okay, interview done. No,
I'm out of here, man. Give me some juice.
Okay, so that's a lot, and I do want to dive into some of the episodes, and again, like you mentioned, some of your collaborators. I want to jump into some of them. How you met? Was this something you always wanted to do with your choices this first season? And yeah, all the etceteras. So let's just start 9 months ago, May 1st, episode 1 with Jacob Rochester, font man extraordinaire, visual artist, music producer, designer, etc. How'd you meet him? I know I'm familiar with him doing some of your graphic design for your personal brand. But how'd you meet him? What kind of narrative did you guys bounce off of each other initially? And is that where it ended up, or did it, develop into something entirely different for episode 1?
Jacob is actually really dope with my connection with Jacob. Like my first photo shoot that I've ever got booked for, like a real one, was with History Clothing Line. And if anybody knows History Clothing Line, that's Nas's clothing brand. And I had to shoot two dudes. I had to shoot Bishop Naru and Dave East. This was like 2011. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those two names together, I'm like, what?
Yeah, Bishop Naru and Dave East. I know, it's crazy combination. And then I remember being on the shoot, mad nervous and all that stuff like that. And then, there was this, young kid on the shoot, and coming to find out he was one of the designers, and like he designed all the clothes and stuff like that. And it was Jacob, and he was, I'm 34. I don't know how old Jacob is now. He has to be like in his mid-20s, but he was young then. But then we immediately, you know what I mean? Like both of us was really goofy, but was always into gear, was into music, and then we immediately was like one of those quick things, like, oh, we already homies, you know what I mean? Like it was here's kind of people that you already have a immediate connection with, that it's not forced. And Jacob was definitely like that for me, and that was, like I'm saying, this is like my first gig. And then now fast forward, like, me and him always kept in contact. Like I would bug him all the time, like, yo, can you do my logo? He's blessed me with a couple of different beats for a couple of projects that I've been working on before, and that turned out really dope for a different for the Maserati project, for some other projects that I've done. And then when I was coming up with the idea for Live at the Bodega, and then we were kind of conceptualizing this whole Street Dreams radio ecosystem, I couldn't find any of it. There wouldn't be no other, for me, there would be no other person to start with besides a brother like Jake. Like you said, he's a multidisciplinary artist. The man could do it all. Like he's probably one of our best contemporary painters right now, and at the next level graphic designer. And now he's making. I was like, this man literally does it all. So he doesn't need any of my help, but it was just really dope to do something in collaboration together. So like, I was able to put my mom on samples on that show.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That was awesome.
You know what I mean? Like my mom, getting my mom on the track complaining about washing the dishes, and then hearing Jacob drop his beats, it is just one of the. That's like one of the things. If I do anything in my life, let me just get my mom on the track.
Yeah. I feel like this was probably one of the more. From like a music mix perspective, this was one of the more well synchronized collaborations. Because you guys share quite a bit in common, at least in terms of kind of seemingly homebody or introverted personality online. His production is pretty easy on the ears, very, I liken him to a knowledge or, that vein, Madlib, like that kind of soul samples chopped and, manipulated to the brink in every direction. So, and you're like this Sweatpants aficionado, which is like Sunday's uniform, So, with his contribution, did you have any input? Because we ended up, thankfully getting an album of his, in so many words, like it's straight up, it's exclusively his work. And was it like that, or did you, just kind of did you give him some guidelines that you wanted to and capture?
For this is like, and especially when I'm working with the either like a Jacob or like a different DJ or producer for stuff like this, I really just like the producer to feel, or the DJ to feel like you're in complete control. You know what I mean? Like this is a complete collaboration. Like I definitely don't make beats, so like I don't want to dictate to you what do you think it should encompass. But what I would do tell them is that like what it feels like, and what I want it to feel like, what it feels like walking to the bodega, and putting on your headphones and having like the soul samples with the sweatpants, and it really has a different kind of cadence to it. You know what I mean? So like Jacob is 100% in control of all the direction that he wants to do with the music and his beat selection, and with us is more or less a creative kind of conversation to figure out what's the overall feel and the vibe and like the kind of energy that we want to go into. So, and that even goes down to like the art direction and working with Mike C, making sure we get the right kind of fonts and the right kind of placements, and it's like you said, like I loved every single project that we've done so far with the Live at the Bodega, but the one with Jacob is obviously just a little bit special to me because it feels like it's packaged like an album almost, what I mean? And that was really specific with that. It was a very specific call to have him first, and and then I'm honestly happy that he's one of those people who's like creatively that you don't have to dictate the conversations, like some people that you really have to always tap in with them. I don't really need to tap in with him. It's more or less like, are we on the same page? All right, good. Like then
done. Yeah, one and done. Awesome.
The simplicity, you know what I mean?
Yes. All right, so kind of leap to the end here in terms of episode 4 with Josh Lang. Because I gotta tell you, like, we went from Jacob Rochester, very easy on the ears, Live at the Bodega, especially this is the first time we're getting like your actual soundbite from the bodega, and you ordering your favorites, and we leap forward to, I believe it was the end of August, that you can just call it the end of summer. And we got Live at the Barbecue, you know what I mean? The funk, the house, it was just like perfect timing. And I mean, I don't know if you planned it that way, but have you ever been to the Party Soul Summit?
No, I haven't actually. What's that?
Soul Summit is, it's been going on for several years, but it has recently become, last year excluding, it has recently become this kind of the best soul house funk day party barbecue. It's insane. It's insane. So just imagine thousands of people partying in Fort Greene Park, which is one of their locations, and it's like, I mean, unadulterated. Like whatever you want. People selling nutcrackers, people dancing on speakers, everything from kids to older, the elders, just partying for hours, and it's like, and it's on a Sunday, so it's like one of those. So I feel like the Josh Lang mix just came in right when we needed it the most, because we didn't get to have the same type of like, that's why I liken it to a Soul Summit type party last summer. So talk to me about BWC, your partnership with Josh, partnerships you've had before, and how music became a conversation between you two, because I don't know much of him, I just know of Street Dreams' previous collaborations.
So Josh is like another one of my day ones. I can't even remember when I first met him now. I've known him for so long. But he's always been, super down to earth, super humble, and like I'm a really big energy dude. And Josh is like one of those people that, like, his chakras is high. Like, makes no some real soul Philly brother, you know what I mean? And like especially when it comes to like being cool with other black men and doing creative things, I think it's really important that all of us stick together, especially if we have the same energy. So Josh, hands down, like, he's always been that soulful. He's always been into the funk vibes. He's always been wearing like the little mascot glasses and the little hats.
Yeah.
That is 100%
real old soul.
Real old soul. And then, I've heard Josh spin with Selection, with Julio, just with a bunch of different cats for a long time now. So it was one of those opportunities, especially like you said, like that was very intentional to have it be summertime. That year 2020 is going to be the year that we speak about forever. So especially creating that kind of cadence of, everybody just wanted to just let loose for a little bit. Like it was been so much that was happening to that point. Like I think it was just like right after, like you said, around August. So like Juneteenth happened and everything. So it was like this a different kind of a cognizant awareness that all black folks, that we in this together without being all hippie and on putting my fist up, but it felt like
that. I mean, we'll get into that later on, but I just feel like the summer was encapsulated perfectly in that. Yeah. I just felt like dancing. Were you dancing? I don't know.
I was like, my mom, between the Jacob Rochester joint, because she loves hearing her voice, because my mom is gas. She loves the Josh joint. She throws that on all the time. She gets rocking to that. So my approval of if it's fire or not is if my mom is bobbing to this, I was like, oh, we got a classic. So
yeah, man.
It could hit somebody from like from 60-year-old to like the 30s to like 20s. Like, we didn't have nowhere else to chill at. So if you could throw that mix on your speaker and put it on your on the stoop or on the block, and you actually could feel like you have needed that. We needed that, and Josh delivered. I mean, like he was like Mariano Rivera. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. He actually delivered. So the cover art for episode 4 was, thankfully unapologetically filmed. And the narrative on the website, on the Street Dreams website for that, was almost all film as far as I remember, what I was looking at. So I guess my first question is, how many fire hydrant photos do you have? How many open fire hydrant photos do you have? 1.
Bro, I
2.
I don't even want to even admit to that, but like 2.
If for those listening, the fire hydrant photo, the open fire hydrant photo is, every photographer should have one. Like every New York or inner city photographer has at least one lying around somewhere. Minimum, just there. Like never thought to be used anywhere. Never really planned to put in a show. Just on deck. Like,
you just have to have it. That taxi or a fire hydrant, you know what I mean?
So the music choice, the mix choice, and the photography just captured summer in such a perfect way that it kind of lends me to a bigger question. Did you give much thought to the photography choices throughout the season?
100%.
Because I know that black and white is your thing, or your preferred method of editing. So in this case, it is perfect that you just kind of popped out with the color for summer. Yeah. I mean, was that on your block?
That was literally.
That's right there. Next door
from the crib.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm like, that was too easy. I was like, that was too. It looked too easy, And
it really was. That's the crazy part about it. It really was. It was just that, and that's why I love this show so much, because I could do stuff like that. Like, that moment of taking the photo of the little homegirl on the block, and then the fire hydrant photo is literally a day of me walking around in my neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like that. There's a sense of like when I'm not here, and you can see the work. Like there's a deep level of attachment of everything that I'm doing. So I'm leaving all these kind of breadcrumbs in there. You know what I mean? So I was on my block. You know what I mean? These are the people that I really mess with. You know what I mean? And when it comes, and then for me, like I always like to like do things a little bit out of left field. So even though I have like you said, I prefer black and white edits, but I do shoot like all the time. You know what I mean? Like I shoot different color kind of photos, I edit color photos. So the Live at the Bodega is a good chance for me to kind of show that, like, I do shoot film. Like, I just don't make it I don't make it a thing, but I shoot film just as much as like the next person, and like I just find a different way to kind of use it in something that's a little bit more tangible for me. Then I'm just kind of giving it away, and I'm not opposed to people just shoot as much film as you want to, and that's just the way that I'm exercising. I want to show my film catalog, and also like a different kind of style of my work. So, like people know me. They know I have like a little personal page. I post pretty much all my film photos in the first place. It's pretty much an extension of that, of like a different kind of level of our portfolio. And at the same time, we still theming it. Me and C have some of the best creative conversations ever when it comes to like picking like out how we want to do the album covers, because it's the real, like, if you see that sometimes the photos that we have to compare, it could really just put the vibe completely in a different place. Like originally we wanted to use like this photo of like this Japanese museum that we saw in Kanazawa for that cover, but then like we paired it up and it was dope, and I was like, I think it's a summertime joint. You know what I mean? So there is like it's still like nothing's ever solid. There's always like these kind of like these evolution conversations to get to the point, but it's a really dope process to have like the photos working with Mike C. Like this is some real family stuff that we're really doing with, Live at the Bodega on Street Dreams Radio.
Awesome. Okay, so let's scale back a bit. You mentioned some very important talking points. Let's scale back to episode 2 with your with the polyglot of genres, Diamond Dallas Blue.
Dallas Blue. Man, I love these dudes who just do so much shit. I mean, it makes no sense, man. Like, what does this man? And he's mad. He's a mad scientist, dog.
Yo, and he's. I mean, that was like a proper new age house set, but it was, part of me wants to say it was, no pun intended, even the choice of color was started off with the Black Lives chant and the kind of revolutionary chant, because that's when it did come out, when it was released. So I feel like, it was rooted in an angry time, and Blue did his best to make sure that we danced. For anyone who was listening to it in that time, maybe it was a juxtaposition to the actual sentiment of the world, but it was healing in a way, because same way you used or you decided to drop Joshua Lang's at the end of the summer as a more of a celebratory experience. I feel like Blue, kind of lifted the spirits of, the kind of ebb and flow of that roller coaster that was midsummer. So I guess, what were you feeling in your responsibility, or in the responsibility department, when releasing that mix? Because I'm sure. I mean, obviously, none of us planned for that to be, the kind of driving echo, and it ended up being the overlaying narration for the mix. So I mean, and this is also when you started to shoot the protests, and it was becoming a dominant part of what you were covering. For the first time, I think in a while, really, that you felt engaged, or you showed work that was engaged in what was happening. So, did you and Blue bounce on that? Was that a last minute addition? Um, what was some of the ground floor conversations with that release?
That whole
Without
time was
without 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 getting too morbid, of course.
yeah, no,
You
no,
know.
for sure. I mean, it was like one of those things when there's a lot of you know when there's a lot of like just dark shit happening. Like I feel like obligated to make sure that we find ways to still celebrate the small W's and not get too lost in this world of it's it's easy to get caught on a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I want to make sure that we address the issues, but at the same time that we don't get depressed by the issues. You know what I mean? Like I want to make sure that we can still have the full spectrum of balance. And then that I thought it was really important to not do anything. I mean, not to not do anything. Like I wasn't just going to post a black square at that time. I think that was around the same time people were posting black squares and everything like that.
Yeah.
I really just wanted complete opposite of, I'm going to make my voice be heard, and then I'm not going to be scared to be black. And I feel like, and mix had a lot to do with that. And it's not like this in your face blackness and like trying to shove it down your throat. It's just trying to let you know that our life matters, and at the same time, black people is the birth of techno. You know what I mean? So that whole set it was a lot of which is the same thing, black awareness and understanding like this is our music and this is our time, and then but at the same time let's feel good about it. Like let's not get too caught up into it. Like
Yeah.
let's just know that
Yeah.
and and let's get it shaken. Let's move. Let's go towards progress. And I thought it was really important. I thought Blue did like a legendary job for something like that, because to be able to create in those kind of times, it takes a lot of gut. You know what I mean? And it's easy to go down like a path where with nothing wrong with it, because it's a full spectrum, like I said. But like, I don't want to focus on the negative side of it so much. You know what I mean? Like, I want to
Yeah.
make sure that we can grieve, but at the same time we can move on and progress. And I felt like that's what that whole set was about. So he executed that perfectly, and even like down to the album cover. Like, I purposely picked like a shot from like the Phuket Islands and like one of my double exposure shots to show that like
Yeah.
it's a transcending kind of experience of like, let's take ourselves out of this and go to another place for a bit. Like, let's go to James Bond Island, if you will. Let's take this metaphorical train and go to an island so we can clear our heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just remember
Yeah.
like why we're grateful to be here. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah. I
like
love that.
our artist, our artistic rhythm nation, if you will. You know what I mean? Like that's what it kind of felt like.
Yeah. That's where it took us to. We actually took a journey somewhere else for a moment, and I'm happy that happened. Uh, how how would you say? I mean, we would like to believe that the worst uh, or the tensest moments are behind us. But do you feel, or better yet, how has that moment kind of shifted your perspective or shifted the context of your work? Uh, uh, Now, the music obviously is a big part of this, but in terms of the things you are interested in taking, photos you're interested in capturing, um, yeah, if you can explain that in a quick way or easy way.
I mean, I think the biggest thing right now with me, where I've started to gravitate more towards like, while all the like the civil unrest was happening during last year, and like just even the way that I was documenting a lot of my different editorials with working with athletes, is like a level of consistent honesty and simplicity that I'm always trying to achieve, and when I'm trying to communicate visually or verbally or spiritually. And I think it's really important for me to, life is already so complicated. I can't explain this to people how much like there's so much complicated things that are happening at the millisecond at a millisecond at each time. Then like let's just slow down for 1 second and just chill, and appreciate certain things, and also understand that there is a level of simplicity. If you can understand the simple things, we can do way more. We can understand way more complex concepts. So even when it comes to like taking a simple photo of a dude sitting on top of a car hood, like that felt empowering. That's what it felt like to be outside during that time. You know what I mean? So
Word. Word.
it's just, and then at the same time, I just try to translate that with how we used to do our activations, and how we do our shows, and how we want to do the radio, and how we want to do the music. It's all like these. What's the most simplest way that we can really connect with someone that just leaves out all the fillers, so we can just focus on the energy, and then that's what I'm really focused on right now. Just, you know, it's a joke. Keeping that same energy is real though. Like it is real. Keep that same energy is some real shit for me.
Same energy is definitely a person. Jeez. All right. So every mix and every artist you chose to collaborate with kind of captures something, right? Whether it's animation, building a lifestyle brand, production, they all seem to be, and this is also me knowing you. They all seem to be an extension of you, or an extension of the type of work you've always wanted to do. You know, I know you had, you and I would laugh about you becoming a DJ one day. You know, you're producing. You know. Like before the radio conversation actually manifested itself, these are all like kind of quips or like little jokes you would drop. So here we are, and you didn't have to do any of the work, right? Like you got to request the talents of others, and would you say that's true? Like, would you say that's exactly what you got to do? Would you say that you got to kind of
I'm a fan. I if I genuinely, this is how I am already. If I genuinely fuck with whatever, the person is doing musically, or, art wise, I'm gonna hit you up like, yo, this is fire. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna figure out a way to work with you one day, and then it might sometimes it might take some time. Sometimes it's the same thing that happened with me and Bisco Smith. Like, me and Bisco really hit it off, and then that turned in from meeting him at Art Basel with one of the homies, and to us, producing pieces together and showing them in Tokyo. That was a long eventual progress for me to be able to create something. Like, I don't do any graffiti, besides like the stuff that we like in sixth grade, making the phase 2 S's and joints like that. Like that's pretty so working with the same way that I aspire to be in the same association and work with people that I admire, like the Bisco Smiths, is the same way that I kind of apply that musically. Like, I've always stuck with Jacob, I've always stuck with Aunt Blue, always stuck with Josh. Those are my guys. You know what I mean? I've always went up to bat with them. So it was, it just made kind of perfect sense to be able to work with them and to be able to, to do the thing, because I know I'm not going to be spinning on funk records at the club. You know what I mean? So let me. And you will always catch me at that spot for sure. You know what I mean? But like, let me find that person who loves it as much as I do. But at the same time, they can put me onto something, and they could treat it with love and respect. You know what I mean? But and they're not. You're not working with. I'm not working with somebody who has just kind of weird energy. Like my grandma says all the time, bad association spoils useful habits. Like, I don't really need that kind of energy around me, and that stuff, it seeps into the music, it seeps into the art. I feel really strongly about that. So like when Rennie told me that, like, they tried to call me Joe Torre up there, like, I'm really trying to be Joe Torre. For sure.
Yo, run that back one more time so people don't have to repeat it. The statement from your grandmother, because I think that's probably one of the strongest mantras that we've all learned one or another way from our elders. What was that quote?
It was, she said she used to tell me, bad association spoils useful habits. So like, grandma's a really spiritual woman, so she always, every time she was, I always, like, not trying to listen to anything else, but every time she said that always clicked. So that's something like she's been telling me since I've been like 9 years old, and that hasn't left. So that's something I use everything. I hang out with my crib, music, food, everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of perfectly aligned with my next question. Because we're talking about associations. Live at the Bodega is a destiny-driven community, right? Or community-driven destination. And I love that it's kind of actually self-fulfilling, right? Like we live in this kind of time capsule of energy, uh, and bodega is the most unforgiving place, right? So
Sure.
because it's a community, I gotta ask you, do you got credit at your local
Oh yeah, first off, like I
joint?
have these conversations if I didn't have credit at the bodega. If you don't have credit at the bodega, you are not valid. You need to be able to run up a tab.
And
But
ladies and
it's
gentlemen of the audience, credit is very real at your bodega, and your bodega can literally be your bank in so many words. If you got credit there, you can come once a week, do your bits, and pay at the end. They know you're not moving. They know you're not moving anytime soon. You've been there for a decade.
I'm off the block. Man, you know who I am.
You know
My
what I mean?
bodega, like,
So
it's one of the most beautiful things when that's just the beauty of the real having a real bodega with Poppy's at the corner. You know what I mean? Like there's been plenty of times when I have no money or I'm popped. I was like, Poppy, I ain't got it today. He's like, oh, don't worry, Poppy, you bring it back next time. It's just
yeah.
you try to put shoulders on there like some Irish Spring. I'm trying to add it up to the bill. But
Bruh.
honestly, like that only happens if you are literally supporting your bodega every day. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things. This is things that I don't put on Instagram. It's like every time I get care packages from companies like they send me a bunch of free clothes, I go straight to the bodega and give it to all of them. Give them like all for years. You know what I mean? I put them. We've done Knicks shoots together. We've done Nike campaigns together. Like I've used that bodega up and down, so they know. I'm here to support y'all. I'm fucking with y'all. So like, if I need to get a sandwich and food, like let me get a sandwich and a
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Best.
Okay, so what does a Steve Sweatpants bodega look like?
Damn. First off,
is it going to be a gallery? Is it just another bodega? Comfort food? Is it, does Aki got the food or make the food, or is it Latina drip?
you literally
Latinx?
a whole head, like my whole it just skyrocketed. You know what I mean? Like it would be really fly to do something like because shout out to Brooklyn Circus. It would be really dope to do like some kind of like Brooklyn Circus setup where you could have like the front part be like your storefront in the area, but then you have your secret door for the back, and then you have the full gallery like they do. That would be some kind of energy that would be absolutely necessary. So anybody who wants to give me a bunch of money, I take EBT, BET, Venmo, Cash App, Bitcoin.
You might have said something there, boy. You might have said something there.
Honestly, but you ain't. You said it like that. Like honestly, that just really bust my head. But it's something that it's a dream. It would be a dream to come true. Honestly, like especially like you being born and raised out here. I don't know how many black-owned bodegas there are. I'm not going to say they don't exist, but it'd be dope to be one of the few, for sure.
Yeah. That's a word. So lastly, what is and maybe you haven't given it too much thought yet, or maybe it's an ever-developing project for you. But what does season 2 of Live at the Bodega do, or what would or give us, or what would you want it to give us, or what are some of the things that you didn't get to do the first time around that we can expect to see in the future?
There's there's just so many really dope and talented people that I've been dying to work with, that we've already honestly made mixes, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for the timetable, but I could even say off the top that like the person I'm really excited to work with next that is Brian Brock. Brian Brock is the homie from Toronto. He's the creative director for Division, and the mix that he created is something that like I'm already talking about already. It already gives me the goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like it's if you know anything about the Division's music, you can already know the kind of aesthetic that they carry, and then Brian Brock pretty much just gives you the roots of everything where they come from, but in his own kind of flavor. So especially everything that we've been able to go from the funk, we've been able to go from the soul sample, from the Sweatpants, like being able to go into that pocket of it is, my soul brother side, and when Brian Brock and being from Toronto was like the New York's cousins. So it's been really dope to introduce that. So I'm really excited about that. But, just amplifying the whole Live at the Bodega concept and understanding that, there's a bunch of eclectic kind of music and artists and super dynamic, super multi different kind of people that I would love to work with. That is just as eclectic as the Bodegas, but I'm going to bring it to the fold for the Street Dreams family and the lab. So I would love to eventually, I don't know when we can do it. I would love to
Repeat that?
I would say eventually, I don't know when we'll be able to do it, but I'm going to start recording live shows at my bodega up the block. So really doing the block with it.
Nice.
And my goal is eventually to get to that Dave Chappelle block party level, but we got some. There's some things in society that needs to catch up with it first, but that's that's where I'm going. So
okay, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Definitely planting seeds already.
Nice, man. All right, well, this is our first episode, ribbon cutting episode for Creative Insights, and we have a boatload more. And thank you, Steve Sweatpants, Steve, John, Irby, for blessing us with this story and kind of just giving us some insight, no pun intended, into your creative process with music and how your photos and all the aesthetically driven things you've chosen to incorporate in your series over the last season. So appreciate you, brother.
Man, shout outs to all those years I played the cello. You know what I mean? Shout outs to Miss
for real.
Shout outs to a saxophone teacher. You know what I mean? But honestly, I appreciate you, Matty. This is these are the kind of conversations that I think are really important when it comes to music. Is we get so hyped up on listening to it, and and whenever kind of worlds that we dive into, but we never really just explain how much we love it in the ways that we love it and how it's connected. So to many more conversations. I know you got an ill lineup lined up, so I'm trying to see what's up. I'm trying to hear some too.
It's gonna be good. But I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peace, cousin. Peace.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Chase Jarvis, founder and CEO of Creative Live. You all know that we have more than 2,000 classes and more than 10,000 hours of learning, inspirational, and motivational content on the platform. I'm super excited to announce a new experience on Creative Live. It's called Fast Class. You've told us that you're busy and sometimes it's hard to dive into a full class from start to finish. So essentially, we're now giving you a shortened highlight version of our top Creative Live classes. You can always dive into the full class with 5, 10, or 15 hours of great content. But now, if you're just looking to focus on a few of the highlights or want to be able to skip quickly to something that really interests you, you can now get a shortened fast class version of that class. We're also thinking this might be able to help you explore a new craft and save time while doing it. This is a great tool to curate your learning experience to help create the life that you seek. So you're probably thinking, great, how do I access this new experience on Creative Live? That's easy. All you have to do is be a subscriber to the Creator Pass, and then all this is yours. If you're feeling isolated and looking for creative connection, try tuning into creativelive.com/TV. That's where we've got a 24/7 live stream from the kitchen counters.
I can do that backlit shot that I really like to do.
From the studios. and living rooms of many of the world's top creators, where we're doing musical performances, Q&As, cooking shows, virtual book tour events, drawing, spoken word poetry, and more.
Life passed me by waiting for an invitation when the world is greater than my nation or my occupation. Be someone you've never been. You feel all that adrenaline, it's medicine.
It actually helps me feel like my days are more purposeful.
I hope that out of this deep pain will come some collective growth.
Dive into Creative Live TV today.